Welcome to the Body, Mind, Spirit Show with me, your host, Rita Hurry. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Carrie Verrocchio, and she is a speaker, a blogger, a coach, and content creator. Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rita. It's an honor to be here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
So, can you share a little bit about your journey growing up and what led you to your vocation and where you are today?
Yeah. So growing up, I grew up in a very conservative household. We were the family who was in church every Sunday. I sang in the choir. I went on youth group trips. I ended up actually teaching the youth group as I got older. I went to a Christian high school. I went to a Christian college. Faith is an integral part of who I am. And I had this very clear picture of what my life was going to look like growing up, what I was going to be doing, I would get married, I would have kids. My brothers and I would grow older together. We would share stories of our childhood with our kids, the way that my mom and dad did with their siblings. And I had this neat little box all tied up with this pretty bow, and I knew exactly what it was going to look like. And things kind of went along by plan until my mid to late 30s. And then I found myself a divorced mother of four, which I never had in my neat little box. And then found myself getting remarried. And during that time of getting remarried, my oldest brother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And that's when that's when the ground really started shifting strong under me. And I started questioning everything I had been taught, everything I believed, because life wasn't going the way that I thought it should when I was doing everything right. I'll put it in air quotes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
that was a huge shift.
yeah, definitely. Because obviously, you'd plan this almost this picture perfect way of life, and then all of a sudden these major things happen.
Yes.
How, I mean, sorry to hear about your brother, but
Thank you.
obviously you sound like you were a very close family.
Yes.
Did you deal with the grief?
Boy, we all dealt with it differently, but as a family, we dealt with it by talking about my brother. We dealt with it by keeping his memory alive. We dealt with it by being there for each other through the cleaning out of his house and going through his personal effects to the funeral and just really pulling together. And my dad was such glue in our family. And if any of us started to question why would God do this, he would bring us back around to we aren't privy to why God's plan is the way it is. It's not ours to understand it all the time, but it is ours to follow the plan. And
Yeah,
for whatever that reason was, Bill, my brother Billy, needed to leave early. And it actually, Rita, actually, when my brother died, it was the catalyst of change in my life to start doing what I knew I was put on this earth to do and to start using the skills that God gave me and to really get out there and start speaking and using my voice.
yeah, yeah. Because you were running a business until that happened. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a general manager of a business when that happened. Yeah.
And then you basically put everything on hold because it was like you couldn't focus on anything during that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're saying it was the catalyst for you to get out there and speak your truth and speak that message that was placed in your spirit, how did that evolve? I mean, what was that transition between obviously going through grief and then actually coming out and saying, no,
Yeah.
this is, I've got to live this purpose? Like, did you get a dream? Did you get a vision that this was where direction you were going to go?
Yes. So a week before my brother died, we were out to breakfast together, and he implored me to step out of the prison of corporate America that I'd put myself in and locked myself in, and to unlock my own door and to start speaking life and helping others choose life while they still had life to choose. And I'd made this promise to him, Rita, but I had no idea how I was going to fulfill this promise to him. And you go through grief, I feel like grief puts you in this alternate universe where time stands still and yet it's moving faster than ever. It's just the weirdest feeling. And so I went back to my life, which looked very much like the life I'd left before he died, except he was gone. I went to work. I did what I needed to do. I cleaned my house. I walked the dog. I did all the things. But the promise still was rolling around in my head. And a few months after he died, I had a dream. And in this dream, I walked into a restaurant, and sitting in front of me was a gentleman with his back to me, knew it was my brother. And I kept trying to get his attention, and he wouldn't talk to me. And so I finally went and I stood in front of him and I said, "Why won't you talk to me? I miss you. I just want you to come to our house for dinner. Why won't you talk to me?" And he looked up at me and he said, "Can't talk to you because I died. Don't you remember I died? I'm only here to give you a message. Life is short, little sister. Choose wisely." And that woke me up. And I started to pull away from my corporate job, working less and less hours, going to part-time, then moving to a consultant. And during that time, I did training, and I became certified in the Maxwell organization as a certified speaker, coach, and trainer, doing all the training and learning how to get out there and fulfill this promise to my brother. So it was a very long, not linear, ups and downs transition to make that dream a reality. But yes, it was very much that dream that pushed me to
Yeah,
the edge.
yeah, definitely. I think, that dream, even I could feel it in my heart, just when just hearing those words, it's like, no, the 9 to 5, the corporate, it's irrelevant. It's what I have a bigger purpose here.
Yes.
And your brother was like, go and live it, go and share that message.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, where did your faith play a part in it? Was there a lot of prayer time, a lot of Bible reading times? What was that like?
There's still a lot of prayer time and Bible reading time. Yes, it was imploring to God, begging God, just show me. I don't know how to take these steps. I made a promise and I don't know how to do this by myself. And I still feel that way. It's every morning there is a prayer. First, it's a prayer of gratitude for what I have, for being thankful for what I already have, for what he has already allowed me to accomplish. And then it's a prayer of what can I do today? What is one step I can do today to grow my business? And even bigger, who is one person I can serve today? And that prayer starts off every day. And then it is Bible reading. And then it is that continual praying throughout the day of heading into a client call, Lord, give me the right words. And when I'm doing a speaking engagement, give me the right scriptures. And sometimes I speak in organizations that want me to be very overt with my faith, and others want me to be a little bit more covert. And so it's God, lead my words, because I want to be able to reach people, not turn them off. So help me to know how to share.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's both areas. It's you can speak openly about your faith and come from that approach, but you can also come from the other side to reach people and to touch them in some way. And to me, that's a blessing because
Mhm,
sometimes it's either one or the other, and
mhm.
you don't get to mix your faith in your speaking,
Yes,
unless you choose, I'm only speaking about my faith. But you've got to do both. And when you're saying that to me, it's like that is a double blessing from God that you
yes,
do that God wants you not to just speak to those that share the same faith, but also touch someone, maybe bring someone to God to accept
yes,
us. And I can see where God's really moving your business even through the uncertainty. You're just doing, aren't you?
yes, yes. And I think that's what we all get to do. We don't have to see the entire plan. And I think it's a huge blessing that we don't see the entire plan. If I had seen in 2010 when my brother passed away, everything that would happen in the 14 years to 2024, I would have begged God to just take me. Don't let me go. Don't make me go through all of this. The death of my father, my own cancer diagnosis, the death of my mother, and finding out that we carry this genetic disorder called Lynch syndrome and broken bones and major cancer surgeries, two of them in 1 year. If I had seen all of this coming down the pike, I would have run away screaming. We don't have to know the whole plan. We just we just get to trust God every single day that
Yeah,
he'll lead our steps.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So going back to where you've mentioned about your own personal cancer journey, what was, I mean, I spoke to someone yesterday about her cancer journey and just hearing the news and how she just broke down
Yeah.
as soon as she heard, and then sort of looking, then building up in terms of her children. What was that journey like for you, and how did you build yourself up to get the treatment that you needed?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So it was December 13th of 2020, 8 p.m. If you've ever heard those words, you never forget the time, the date, what you were wearing, what you were talking about when the phone call came. You just don't ever forget. And it is forever etched in my memory. My mom was living with us. That was it was like the second year she was here. My father had passed away since. She had sold her house. She moved in with us, and I loved having her here. December 13th, 8 p.m. at night, my husband and I were finished decorating the Christmas tree. My mom had gone to bed, and my phone rang, and it was an unknown number, and I usually ignore those. And something inside of me, the Holy Spirit said, you need to pick this one up. And so I picked it up, and I heard this male voice, this doctor say, "This is Dr. Lehrman." And all I thought was, this it cannot be good news when they call you at 8 o'clock on a weekend night, or any night. And he had done my screening colonoscopy with all of the colon cancer that was in our family. I was getting these screening colonoscopies every 3 years, and they had all been clean. Everything had been fine. And he had done this colonoscopy 6 days previously. He had removed one tiny polyp at the cecum, and he told my husband, it's nothing, but I'm going to biopsy it anyway. And he was calling to say that it was actually invasive cancer. And I needed to get in his office the next day. And I just remember, I don't even remember what I said to him. Maybe I agreed to be there the next day, but I remember hanging up the phone and walking back out to my husband, who was putting on the decorations. And he said, "So who was that?" And I said, "Dr. Lehrman." And he said, "Oh, what did he have to say?" And I told him, and he just like buckled. He sat on the couch, his knees buckled. And I looked at him and I said, "How do I tell my mother that another one of her children has colon cancer? She already buried one. How do I tell her?" That was my biggest concern.
Yeah,
And I told her the next morning as we left for the doctor, and she took my hand and she said, "God has brought us through, and he'll keep bringing us through, whatever happens." Um, so they did another colonoscopy. They found more cancer, so they needed to take half of my large intestine. And that's when they did the genetic testing. Now, it was very early stage. Thankfully, my surgeon went all the way to the cecum for that colonoscopy, which many doctors do not do. So I am a huge advocate in speaking for the Lynch Syndrome Foundation and the Colon Cancer Coalition. Make sure your doctor is going the entire way. Because if you have Lynch syndrome, and many people do, they'll miss it because that's where the cancer starts. So that's my little aside, but that's part of what God has given me to use my voice on.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, then moving from that and pulling your life back together. I mean, I'm just thankful to God that you got through it. And like, what's your outlook on life right now? I mean, obviously, losing your brother, is it like, okay, you know what? It's gone up 10 times more now in terms of living my purpose.
Yeah. Um, after my cancer diagnosis and my Lynch syndrome diagnosis, I had my mother tested. This is all part of my answer to that question. And when my mother came back positive for Lynch syndrome, I got her in for a colonoscopy immediately. Her doctor had told her years before, you never have to have another one, even though she had already had colon cancer in her 50s, same age as me when I was diagnosed. And I took her in on May 3rd. They found two massive tumors in her colon, and she died in my arms on May 21st I mean, just 19 days, May 22nd, I'm sorry, 19 days later. And it, that, that felt like, that felt like God was in my face saying, time is short. I already gave you this message. Life is short. What choices are you going to start making? You've been on this path, but you're kind of half doing it. You're up and down, you're hot and cold. I need you to be hot all the time. Because if your life is this long and you don't know, it could be this long, it could be this long, you don't know, but I do. But if you lived every day thinking your life was short, would you make wiser choices? And
Mhm.
so that really has woken me up to thinking about every choice I have and every decision I make based on the end goal. And that changes everything. It changes everything when you weigh every choice against an end goal. If you say that you want to keep your body strong and healthy, but you keep choosing the fast food every single night, is that healthy body really your goal? If I say I want to speak on more stages, coach more people, train more companies, but I'm not making choices every day that lead up to that end goal, is that really my end goal? And what is the purpose that God gave me? Are my choices matching up?
Yeah, yeah, and also your actions as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's so easy to decide. Sorry, there's a fly in here for some reason. it's it's so easy to decide. Yeah, I'm gonna do ABC,
Hmm.
and then totally get distracted and start moving away from, okay, I'll do A, but I'll leave B, and I'll touch on C. But
Yes.
God always finds a way to bring you back to, no, this is your purpose. This is
Yes.
what you're meant to do. I mean,
Yes.
for myself, my purpose has changed since I've come back to God. And it's like it's going through a new upheaval of transition. And it's like trusting in God, relying on God, and just, when you're told also by God, sit and wait, don't do anything. I'm leading you,
Yeah.
but you are not to do anything right now. Just do
Yes.
this simple thing. And it seems we get in our heads, don't we? We're like,
Yes.
oh no, but I know that I should be doing this. If I'm not busy or if I'm just doing that, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not. But
Yes.
that's what our mind is telling us.
Yes.
But our spirit and God is like saying, no, that's not yours to do.
Yes.
And that in itself, I mean, how much, and we put, I know we've touched on this already, but how much is reliance on God so important when having to make big decisions like turning your life around for your purpose?
Yeah. That reliance on God it's foundational. I don't know how to I don't know how to answer I don't know how to answer completely because it's such a strong foundation in my life that I can't imagine not having it. I can't imagine not having that privilege to ask for that guidance. And when I look at people who don't have that, it makes me sad because I think how do you stand up? How do you be resilient? How do
Yeah.
you keep getting back up if you don't have that foundation and if you don't have that sense of that you are part of something bigger than you?
Mm.
I don't know I wouldn't know how to exist like that. Even when I went through tough times where I felt like, God, you've turned your back on me. I always knew that when I turned around, he'd be waiting with his arms open. I always knew it was me that did the shifting. It wasn't him. That foundation always stayed strong. So everything is based on having that in my life.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's beautiful about it. I mean, me coming out of my faith and then being called back in, when I look at what decisions I'd made without coming to God and reliance on myself,
Yes.
when now I'm back in my faith, I'm like, boy, God, did I make a mess of that? Like,
Yes.
what a mess. Like, um,
Yes.
could you clean that up? Can you like sort that out for me? And like, I now I'm more dedicated than I was when I
Yes.
previously was in my faith. And it's like, I can't now. And it's like, it's only been, majority of like a year, but it's like, I can't imagine not having God guide me,
Yes.
like you said, like we're so privileged to have God guide us, even though sometimes it's difficult, like you said, that we
Yes.
kind of turn away,
Yep.
but we always know He's there. And that's such a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. It is. And like you, during that time where I walked away, the messes I made are, I mean, I'm still every day saying, God, if today's the day that we could clean that up, it'd be amazing. There are still consequences. 20 years later, I am still paying consequences for decisions I made outside of the will of God. And I'm not mad at God for that. It's not his fault. A lot of times we call trials and we call things trials and they're really consequences. We have to be careful. Yes, trials come in our life. I don't believe getting cancer is a consequence or a trial all the time. I think we are told to take care of our bodies as a temple, and many of us don't do that. And
Yeah.
then we get angry when something happens. I don't think it's a punishment. That's what I was trying to say earlier. But I do think we have a lot more responsibility to take for our lives than we do take. And so we need to really look into, are we holding a consequence or a trial right now? Things do happen. I mean, my brother dying was definitely a trial in my life. Definitely a trial in my life. And in all of our lives. Um, but decisions I made outside of the will of God, that's a consequence. People will say, boy, that's a real trial you're going through. No, no, I brought that on me. I take responsibility. I did it,
Yeah, and that's
you
that
know?
discernment, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where the Spirit leads us. It's like where we're able to have that discernment through the grace of God,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and that's a powerful thing. I mean,
Prayer.
what would you say to someone? I think this fly really is interested in this conversation.
He really likes you.
Yeah, just open one window and that's it. Just
I know.
but what would you say to someone who is going through a lot, who is, someone of faith, but who feels that their relationship with God is being tested because they're going through a lot of hardship
Mm.
and difficulty at the moment? As you
Yeah.
yourself experienced a lot in terms of grief, in terms of illnesses, cancer as well. What would you say to someone going through that right now who just
Yeah.
feels like giving up, who's like, my faith, I can't do it. It's too many rules, I guess, or, just looking at
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Honestly, as I've been through this journey and things that were said to me that made me even more angry and made me want to pull away from God even more, and they're the things that most people say. God has a reason for this. God always has a plan. I know all the answers. I know all the answers. I have read the Bible through. I know what you're trying to tell me. But right now, my heart hurts. And so when I am with someone who is feeling that way, it is simply, I understand. I understand. I am here for you if you want to talk about it.
mm,
I don't try to, it's like pouring salt on a wound to try and preach at someone who is feeling already like God has turned his back on them. And so I offer that ear and love and hugs and check in and allow them to talk. Because when you give someone the space to express themselves and to talk, they will talk themselves into a solution, or they will get to the point that you're trying to get them to by throwing platitudes at them if you give them the space. So that's what I do. And I will ask them if it's okay if I pray for them. I don't tell them I will. I ask them if it's okay. I've never had anyone say no, but I have had them come back and say, thank you for asking me and not just telling me. We just need to give space.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And I think it's so easy to just say, put the pressure on.
Yes.
But everyone's different, aren't they? Everyone manages grief differently. Some switch
Yes.
off, some get really emotional, some give up. And it's who are we to judge where they're at? That's
Yes.
yeah. What I like to ask my guests, what final message would you like to share with the viewers, the listeners out there, in regards to your faith, in regards to how God has helped you turn things around, and just in general, just to give them something to take away from this
Yeah.
interview, although I know they've taken away a lot.
My final message. I would say life will get challenging at some point, for it does for all of us. And when it comes your way, tap into the strength that you're building now. Don't wait for things to fall apart to start to rely on God. Rely on Him now while times are good, or rely on Him in the good times. Thank Him for the good times. Understand that they are a gift and a blessing. And that way, when you come into a challenging time or into a stressful time, it doesn't even have to be your own stress. It can be stress of someone else in your family or a friend, and you kind of are with them through that stress. When you come into those times, you have this strong, strong foundation. Don't wait until the ground is crumbling. And most of us do that because we get comfortable. So build your foundation while times are good so that you have a stronger foundation when things don't go as planned.
I love that. That's so beautiful and so true that we all
Yeah.
just do that. I have one question that I'm being led to ask. In regards to deepening your faith in God,
Mhm.
what's worked for you?
It is it is reading. I have two devotionals and then a Bible, and that I read every single morning. And I have partnered with my cousin who lives about 3.5 hours away from me, and we share what we have learned each morning with each other. And we've done this for years now. It started off with her having a Facebook post saying, I just can't be grateful anymore. And I reached out. I hadn't talked to her in years. And I said, hey, would it help if we started expressing gratitude each morning together? And that's how this whole thing started. And it has grown to where it involved my mother when she was still alive. Linda's mother is still living. And so she has the same ones. And the three of us talk about what we're learning. And it keeps us accountable so that when life gets busy, we don't not do it because somebody is counting on us. And that is a huge part of deepening my faith, is tapping in to a Bible reading every morning, to an explanation of it, and then a Bible study piece that brings those pieces together, and really learning how I can be a better person. That's my overall goal. I just want to be the best version of myself, and I fall short a lot.
Yeah, but we're human
Yeah, we are.
too, and we just have to accept and be honest about that.
Yes.
So keep moving forward and keep asking God for strength, don't we?
Yes, we do. We
Yeah,
do.
I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing that with me. Where can the viewers and listeners go to find out more about you?
Yep, the best place is my website, and it's carriev.com. So I'll spell it out. It's CarrieVee.com. And everything is there. My blog is there. My podcast is there. Events are there. How to download a freebie is there. It's all there. Best place to find me.
Brilliant. Well, apologies for me waving my hands around so much. That was not the plan for the interview. But Carrie, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. You've really shared some great insight in there, and thank you for sharing your journey. I know it's not easy talking about these things, but I know that the listeners, the viewers will gain something from it because someone might be going through the exact same thing that you've gone through, and I know it's going to help them tremendously. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, that's it for today. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll be back real soon. Bye.